I found like reading through this stuff is like my own how I've been um, I trying to autodidact learn all this stuff for the past 2 years or so. It's been now. I tended to kind of like skip a lot of things, and I went right to trying to make apps when I didn't know anything about the language. And reading back over this material is really good to actually get a little bit more CS, not like general computer science terminology and conventions and kind of how it all works. Because I didn't take any computer science in school or anything, and have had pretty little exposure to anything that looks like electrical engineering or yeah, like that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping to get is more, just kind of a deeper knowledge and fill in a lot of gaps. So I'll probably I organize this, but I'm not necessarily the leader of it. Like y'all all probably have just as much, if not more, knowledge and experience in certain areas than I do. So feel free to like chime in and ask questions all the time, and we can make this very kind of I'm getting all serious, but we can make this like pretty casual and just kind of talking about things that we're thinking about, kind of concepts that we're not quite grasping but interested in, and all that kind of stuff. Like that's kind of how I see this being a benefit. And then yeah, and then in the future, I mean, if we, well, let's just take this. There's a lot in this book, and it could potentially take us, 6 months or so to cover everything.
Hey, Daniel.
Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt, but Cameron, he's on the Q&A side. He's asking some questions.
Oh, okay. No, thanks. I can hear and see people but don't know how to turn my video on. Oh, okay. So, Cameron, that means I think you're just viewing, and you need to, yeah. So you're looking at the event, and you need to join that call. Let me post that again. And so inside of Google Hangouts, if you have the extension, the actual, I think they call it the Hangouts plugin, if you have that installed, you should be looking on that. It should have opened up another web browser that should have everyone's live streams at the bottom, and then on the left there should be some Google apps, some kind of add-ons for Hangouts that you can use. And oh, I never posted that. Okay, and sorry, there should be one called Chat. And if you click on and install Chat and then go to that call link, then you'll actually be able to join the call. I'm not seeing you in the chat right now, though.
Yep. Guys, I'm going to try to exit and rejoin from a different computer so I can use my headphones and webcam. This is it's not allowing me to do what I want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Did you guys watch any of the Google I/O announcements and event things?
No.
So there's going to be
Me neither.
well, there's going to be 2 new Google messaging apps. And
Why 2? Why not just one?
Because they needed one for sending pictures. One's just for emojis and one's for text. I don't know.
Okay.
How they did that. Still saying one viewer. Have y'all looked into any of the new string methods that came with ES6?
No.
I was looking at these the other day. There's a bunch of them. Like match. So you can kind of do some low level.
Has ES6 been finalized? Like, is it out in the wild?
So the newest version of Chrome has like 98% coverage, like as far as being feature complete, so supporting all the features. Safari is around that also, the last version of Safari. Part of how they got to that was removing some things from the language. So there was like comprehensions was one of the things, and I think generators are kind of being pushed back, which is unfortunate because generators seem like one of the really cool kind of new ways to do asynchronous stuff. But yeah, to answer your question, yes and no. Most people are using Babel or some kind of really. I mean, that's the major player as far as transpiling and actually using all the new language features. And then there's also Webpack, so you can use. I don't know if y'all are using any kind of like build tools for anything, but Webpack's a really popular one where it'll let you write ES6 and then bundle all of your app code, so you can be have multiple files that has all your logic, and you can be using ES6 modules for all that, and it'll take all your code and bundle it into one JavaScript file that's ES5 compatible, and that'll actually run. It also supports like hot module reloading is one of the additions. So hot module reloading just means when you make a change to something, it'll show up right away, and you don't have to like recompile. There's it's watching your file system, kind of like how Meteor does it. If you've developed anything in Meteor, and Meteor just has an ECMAScript package, so you just install, which I think even with since 1.3 it comes with that by default. So yeah, if you're using Meteor, then you can use it pretty much all those features right out of the box. It's cool. Oh, I remember. So at Node School, we were talking about something with like the statics on classes. Oh, Alexa, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna figure out.
Oh yeah, that's right. Did we ever figure that out?
No.
Okay.
Do you remember what the? Oh, it was like how class like it basically came down to like what is an extend statement,
Oh, that's right.
like when you
How to
extend a
actually make
class.
new instances of classes and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
like what is that doing? One so there's another free, I think it's called Exploring ES6. Oops. This might be something uh, we may want to actually use in tandem at some point. Um, this guy goes into some serious depth, and it's free to read online, but it's kind of annoying because it'll put this bar on the top of your screen, but you can just delete it. That's what I do anyway, to read. Um, but this goes into um, a lot of depth on all the new features. How you can make actual arrays from array-like objects, and using like object.assign and a million other things. GraphQL, cool. Yeah, so this is a really good resource if you're trying to get into ES6 stuff. This guy also has a blog. It's called two. It's called Reality, but it's like with a two. And he, it's really it's really terse and technical, but if you have the stomach for it, it can be really good to answer questions. And there's like discussion.
Nice.
And it's like it's on Blogger, which I haven't even seen one of these in a long time. Yep. So those are all good. I think ES6 is awesome, and I think it makes the language very more mature, kind of more taken seriously if you're coming from like a computer science and like an object-oriented world. I think even though like it says we're using classes, but really underneath it's still using prototypal inheritance. I think having those keywords and having block scope and stuff like that are major language improvements. And then like JSX, it's just crazy. I mean, I couldn't have imagined, a year ago, even though they've been working on the spec for 3 years now, I just can't imagine all the changes to the language that have happened. And like deconstructed objects, lambdas, it's cool. It's really easy to like geek out on these things. So yeah. But back to the back to the material. What did you guys like about this chapter?
Well, it's
I like
always good to look at the fundamentals. I mean, I was going over it and trying to think like, what more can I get out of this? It's easy to skip over this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
And I thought, well, okay, there's got to be more. And I started thinking about, well, do I really know what the internal representations that JavaScript uses for a number,
Right.
for instance?
Yeah.
Is the internal representation for an integer different from a floating point, or is it just making an arbitrary distinction? And just on that point, as best as I could figure out, the internal representation is the same for an integer or a floating point. It's just
Yeah.
it's just that an integer doesn't have a negative exponent, right?
Right.
But they're all like IEEE floating point, a double essentially.
Yeah, they only have one. There's just that one type.
Yeah. So I mean that's the one, and that's kind of the way I was thinking. How can I get anything more out of just looking at, what the basic items, that strings, and or like what's the internal string representation? I really don't know.
Yeah. Well, on that topic,
Yeah.
have you looked at all this SIMD spec?
No.
So this is going to be supporting different types. So you can make ints and floats of different bit size, and it means single instruction, multiple data. So it's going to be all about parallel processing. And I mean, this is still kind of a way. This is separate from like ES6 or JavaScript proper. But there's going to be a lot of different types involved and different actual signed and unsigned. Which some databases are using these kind of types internally to store numbers. Like in Mongo, it has like a signed. I think there's something like 4 or 5 number types within Mongo. Even though that's something that it's doing internally. But this is kind of neat. This is like far off, but not really that far off. Future stuff.
Yeah, this is pretty cool stuff right here. Yeah, I was thinking about this before. Why not just make different types of numbers, and that's already been done? Okay.
So, but does it enforce the types? You know, I mean, is there any way in JavaScript where you can do a type declaration and make it stick? Or, you know, if I try to, you know, make something an integer and reassign it as a string, that it'll, you know, that it at least would, you know, give me a warning or disallow it.
Isn't that what the const declaration does? I'm not sure.
Oh,
look it up.
Const. So const is one of those tricky things that const isn't quite what you would expect it to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So const is just a reference that doesn't change, or that's not allowed to change, basically. So it doesn't care about the type. It just won't reassign that value to something else. So if you assign const to a number, you can't change that number, but you can't change it to anything. If you change it to an object or an array, you're still allowed to mutate those objects. That's a little unlike. Yeah, it was a little confusing. So it has nothing to do with type or type checking or being strongly typed versus dynamically typed, which JavaScript is, and JavaScript tends to do type inference. So I did see something recently where they were talking about supporting something like Flow, which is Facebook's typing engine, supporting something like that internally, or TypeScript even, and that will actually give you helpful errors, or it'll make your program bail if it gets the wrong type. But generally in JavaScript, it'll coerce types, and that's something that's built in from the beginning. Yeah, which
that's kind of a blessing and a curse, you know. I mean, you could it can make things easy, but it can also open the door for huge blunders.
Yeah. Here's the spec if you want to look this over. They link to it here at the bottom of MDN right here.
Nice.
Yeah. But I think people that are working on like encryption, and people that are doing video encoding, and doing a lot of rendering, which also includes things like blockchain, because a lot of times they'll be using video cards. So this is really, really efficient with doing vector math and doing the same operations on. That's literally what it means. It's like single instruction and multiple data. So that's a new thing that we'll see, I suspect. I know Brendan Eich, the guy who created JavaScript, he was really excited about this. This is kind of his favorite thing. And anything by Brendan Eich that you can watch or read is really, really good. That guy's incredibly intelligent. Oops.
That does sound interesting. I was just trying that first paragraph there. So a single.
Oh, sorry.
Well, it's okay. That single instruction, and you're working on multiple data points at the same time. Am I understanding that right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And as you can see, it's just got. They try to include like all the methods, I think. Splat. Swizzle. I don't know what that does. Oh, like a swizzle operator. I don't know. This stuff's. I think you actually need to be Data from Star Trek. Anyway, so um, yeah, as far as like how JavaScript is representing these things internally, if you look at like how Babel transpiles things, it's actually it's creating what's called an abstract syntax tree. Have you ever have you seen one of those?
Nah.
No, I don't think
There's
so.
actually
Yeah.
there's actually a virtual one that I found one time. Yeah, they're generally called ASTs. Um, and basically, this is like a diagram of your code. So, this is like super high level. Let's see if I can, here's JavaScript one. Yeah, so you'll get these like, if I say like var a equals 12, the part of what happens is there's a new, oh, I'm going to mess up some of the wording, but there's basically like a new instance that's created at compile time that tells the JavaScript engine, create this new object that has this reference and then call it this thing, and it actually creates new instances a lot of times. So we're able to kind of represent the actual structure of the program in these tree-like objects. This looks really bad. I don't know if I don't even know that this is a great one to look at. But the point being, you can actually, if you have these kind of tree representations of your program, you can transform and compile, i.e., transpile them into other languages. So that's what Babel does. It reads, or that's what any program. It's kind of like what a compiler does. I take it, but it's able to kind of graph out and know exactly what your set of instructions is trying to do, and then create a tree-like object that represent. Because you look at this as like, this is just an object with like nested fields, right? So like what Babel does is actually takes that and it goes like, oh, this is only available in ES6, but I have this polyfill, so I'm gonna transform this set of instructions into ES5 that accomplishes the same thing, which is how we get this kind of like pure transformations that occur, and like pure functions are really really popular. I never heard that term before like a year ago, and now everything's about using pure functions and immutable data.
Yeah.
Because it turns out they're really, really performant, and it gets rid of just a whole type of bug when you start writing pure functions that aren't doing mutations to your data. Yeah. Oh, here's the guy who wrote that guy. That's the guy who made Babel. This child.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. His name's Sebastian. He, he
Wow.
he made it in like math class in Australia. He was going to school in Australia and like made it for fun in like a freshman math class that he was taking. Because it does kind of, programming branches out from mathematics in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and most mathematicians reach their peak before age 25.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It's just not fair.
Yeah, that's the kind of the like plasticity of the mind.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm even feeling that where I'm like, I know I've seen this 1 million times, and it's just like, I feel like my brain is sprayed with Pam. something.
Yeah, so the ideas don't stick, right? They just slide off.
They just slide. Yeah. Anyway, so this is what like linters also do kind of similar things. If you're using any kind of linter or JS hints, we should maybe, if we're talking about like JavaScript tools, this is a really good one. So this will actually like parse your code and tell you like, oh, you're missing a semicolon.
Perfect. Yes. Oh, just a comment on that about my experience with Eclipse.
Yeah.
If you download the Node plugin for Eclipse, it'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the editor, you can
Yeah.
it'll check your syntax to some extent.
Yeah, it's probably using JS hint. It's probably actually using this library.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Or something similar. There's for ES6, there's a thing called ESLint. I've been working with this week, like getting this set up. The new version of it's really nice. I can show you what kind of an older, like a 1.0 version of this used to look like. Let me see if I can. Well, I don't know if that would be super helpful, but. Just so you can kind of get an idea of the rules. So if I look up like ESLint RC. Yeah, so this is like a 1.0 version of it, and you're telling it like I want to use Babel, and then it's got these plugins. I don't even know what LW is, but like JSX would be one of them if you were using React, and then the environments that the ESLint's going to run inside of. And then just all these rules. So 2 is like throw an error. 1 is, or throw a warning, and 1 is throw a please don't do this, like a lighter warning. That's what these numbers here mean. And then these are all the rule types that you can set warning types for. So it's like sparse arrays, no implicit coercion, no proto, no new wrappers. A lot of things that actually kind of go into having a style guide. So if you're working on a program with a lot of people, you probably want to be following the same style, so the code all looks the same. And this is a really good way to enforce that. But this is like can be really difficult to set up and just to reason through everything, especially if you're kind of looking at it for the first time.
Yeah, but I mean, is there any people like publishing pre-cooked templates you could use for it?
Yeah. So when you like, let me just share my whole screen real fast. This might actually knock me off. That happened last time, but let's see. Okay, here we go. So with the new version, it's much nicer. So I can just do like ESLint and knit. I think that's how it's done. Let's see. Oh, dash and it. It's like you can use a popular style guide. You don't see this?
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like answer questions, use a popular style guide, or inspect the files. I've just answered questions, so it's like I'm going to use ES6, I'm going to use ES6 modules, it's going to run in the browser. I don't use CommonJS. I do use JSX, I use React, and I like to use 2 spaces, but I'm going to do tabs and single quotes for strings. And Unix just means that's like it is the like \r\n I think is on Windows, and Unix just does the \n for line endings.
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't require semicolons because you don't have to use semicolons at all, actually. And I'm going to make a YAML file. Uh-oh. Oh. Okay, I gotta npm init first. Sorry. Have y'all done an npm project? So. Okay.
You know, so speaking of the semicolons, though, that's really something I had in the back of my mind. I haven't been exposed to other people's code all that much.
Yeah.
You know, and what is really the common style to not, you know, to leave them off or?
So JavaScript will do a thing called automatic semicolon insertion at compile time. So it adds them when it reads them. So you really don't have to use them anywhere. And there's only one or two places where that are possible gotchas to that. Yeah. So, but there's actually a really good article that says like you don't ever have to use semicolons. I think it's on JS Standard. This is a really good. So this is another library that you can use and download from npm and just run. I think it's just JS Standard is the command, and it'll read all your files and compare it to something like this. So this is that ESLint that I just set up. Look how much nicer that is.
Oh yeah.
And so this is like ESLint 2.2. But all of the, if you go to, let's see, yeah, like configuring here, it'll show all the rules, and it's got some really nice, there's a really nice library that if you get in the habit of using it now, I think it will make your code a lot better.
Yeah.
Because we're all, it's, you know, we're all prone to human error, and we're all prone to like writing stuff late into the night and trying to work when we're tired and stuff. So using something like this is a really good way to mitigate some of those things. And this is specifically for ES6 and JSX, but it'll work with regular JavaScript as well. And then it kind of like future-proofs you to a certain extent because you're already using the ESLint if you start using this. It also has a global tool that you can use. So you can just install this package globally, and then inside of your directory, you can do like ESLint dot, and it'll lint all your. Oh, I didn't have any JavaScript files, so there's nothing to lint, but it'll lint all your files that are in there. That's a really cool tool. But as far as the semicolons,
yeah, you know, I was just, you know, for now, I was just kind of following the style that the Eloquent JavaScript guy was using.
Yeah.
You know, which I think he was using like two spaces for indent, and always using a semicolon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's optional, and some people.
Yeah,
I'm just like it, but.
Yeah, I'm just trying to adopt a style that's the most common, you know.
Yeah.
And whatever that is.
I mean.
Yeah, I think it's always better to you know, format it in a way that's readable for the most people. You know, that other people would be comfortable with and trying to read and understand your code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know that there's any. I mean, there's definitely not a.
Well, okay, like in Python, they have those PEP. There's PEP standards, right? And a bunch of those are exactly that, like, you know, like coding standards. How many spaces to indent, and you know, all these niggly little things to, you know, to worry about in formatting your code. I mean, it sounds to me like maybe JavaScript's not that. There's not that
formalized.
Same, there's not formal standards to that, you know, to that level of detail.
I mean, I really don't have a lot of experience in Python. That kind of seems to be the case in Python in general. I think as I've talked to people about it, there tends to be kind of one way to do everything. It seems
Yeah.
like, which can be really good, I think. And if it's your first language, that's awesome. But JavaScript, JavaScript's almost like an emotional kind of thing. People are like, don't take away my curly braces. I need my semicolon.
Right.
But yeah, you really don't need them. And if you go to JS Standard and look at the semicolons subheading, there's these three articles here that's like just kind of proving that you don't ever need them. This one's really good because Kyle Robinson Young, he works on a lot of really cool stuff, and he's got a great video series. And he kind of goes through like there's only like one potential gotcha. But yeah, you can watch that later if you want. But the point is like you don't need them, and the language adds them, and the one gotcha isn't really a gotcha if you just leave off all semicolons. There was a problem with if you have a return statement and then you have something on the next line, like you're trying to return that, JavaScript will insert a semicolon at the return statement and then not even evaluate what comes after it. But in general, that's a bad practice in JavaScript anyways, to have your code on a line, not on the same line as your return. Yeah, but I definitely recommend this site too. It's a little simpler, but if your code base uses it, you get this cool badge to go on your GitHub. This one right here.
Well, I'm trying to think what else is in that Eloquent JavaScript first chapter that would be fertile territory for us.
Yeah.
I was just looking back at my notes, and I mean everything's super straightforward in the first chapter. I mean it's just unary, binary operators, comparisons. Like
the ternary. That's probably good to go.
Oh yeah, ternary. That's something good to talk about.
Yeah, we only have one. So
The ternary.
Do y'all use the ternary ever?
I always forget that it's there.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, it really shortens up your if-else statements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really does.
Have y'all looked at any React code?
No.
Nope.
I was just looking over JSX since we were talking about it.
Yeah. So in React, it takes a lot of advantage of the ternary because of how the JSX actually gets compiled. Because like you'll write, like okay, this is a piece of JSX right here. So you have React DOM is this library, and then it has a render function, and then you're passing in this. And it's like, what is this? How is this JavaScript? Why do I have HTML tags? So what it's doing actually is creating, it turns that into something like this, where it passes in, it calls create element, and it passes in a div, and then it's got this object. Oh, right. So if you try to use an if condition like this, like if condition, then it'll make this object that's like not valid JavaScript. You can't have like an if statement as a value here. Sorry, that was a little convoluted explanation, but um, but basically, if you use a ternary like this, which is doing a null check, it'll actually compile and make valid. It'll make valid JavaScript code. And you can do this actually inline. The JSX here isn't super great. So this is just showing you that like inside of your JSX return statement, you can even have like you can use immediately evoked functions, which is what this is. Okay, let me. I think I went down a bad path. Basically, let's look at what Eloquent JavaScript says.
Right. And I think seeing it used in actual production is pretty cool too, if you want to call that production.
Yeah.
I guess this is pretty straightforward for teaching, but it's it's too simple, hard to see how you'd actually use it.
Yeah. Yeah. So with like JSX, you see it all the time because it's kind of how if inline conditional stuff is done. Because you can even do like in JSX, I could have let me look at an example. So I could have like on one side of I could be checking for something here. So I'm like if there's data, show this component, and then if there's not, show this like no data component. You know, so these are like two different components of this data component, and I can actually in line render something like this that'll show two different components based on a condition here. And the important thing about ternaries, which I think it says somewhere around here, is that whichever side is true is evaluated and returned. Whatever is not true is ignored by the compiler. So that's something to keep in mind. That hasn't so far been an issue, but I feel like that's an important bit to know as far as like what gets evaluated and what doesn't. JSX.
So essentially, the ternary operator is picking true or false. True being the left, false being the right.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. Yep. Yeah, it's exactly like an if-else. It's just a single line version of it. I'm not sure if they, on a language level, if they become the same thing internally. That would be interesting. That would be something to look up.
Yeah.
How they're actually evaluated. Because in an if-else, the else might actually get evaluated, whereas here this would not. This else
that wouldn't
would
get
not.
evaluated if that was true, right?
Yeah, exactly. It would only read this side.
I gotcha.
Oh, operator precedence. That's definitely important.
It's like PIMDOS. Is that like the math operator?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the same. And then you can use parentheses to block stuff out.
So I mean, it is exactly PIMDOS.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Without exponents, I think does JavaScript support the double asterisk notation for exponents?
Oh,
I think it's like
I don't think
I think
it
it's
does.
like coefficient then e then exponent. I think.
yeah. E is the quick way, and then you can
Yeah.
also do math.pow.
Yeah, but it doesn't have the double asterisk. I don't think.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it doesn't.
Oh wait. So no wait. E is for times 10 to the blank.
Oh, look at that.
I'm saying just like 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, so 2
It
with
so
2
it
to the
does
4.
it does support it.
I don't think it does. It does?
Well, no, do like yeah.
I'm gonna make a quick sandbox visit to
So
this.
I think this is actually this is a shorthand. It does appear that that is doing a power operation, but I think this might actually be two different kind of how plus plus and minus minus work, where it's actually a shorthand or is that even the right word? So if I do like 2 plus plus, wait, whoops, this word? Nope. If say a equals 2 and then a plus plus. Oh wait, plus plus a? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow, I didn't even know that existed, see?
Yeah, and like if you put the plus plus before it, it increments it first and then returns it. And
Yeah.
if you put it after it, it returns the value, then increments it.
Yeah. And so it's important here. This is actually mutating this value. So see how a here returns 4 again. So what this operation is doing, just like Jay said, it's doing right. So it's doing the addition first and then setting that value again. So
Yeah,
is
because you can see it basically types 3, quote unquote, because it incremented it after it returned 2. And so when we added 1 again, then it returned 4.
yeah, it's like doing
Which is
a
pretty
equals a
interesting.
plus 2, but it's just a
And I think
shorthand.
it just did a equals a plus 1. Because I wish you could return a in like the middle line there. Just do do plus plus a again. Should return 7, I think.
Yeah. It should only increment it by 1.
Yeah. Why did it go up? So I guess it must have been 3 here and just didn't return
Yeah,
something.
it returned it. It incremented it
Right.
after it returned the 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah. I mean,
ah,
yeah, the value of A is going to, afterwards going to be the same. But if you said like, if A equals 2 and then you say B equals A plus plus, then B would be equal to 2, and,
right.
and A would be 3.
Well,
Yeah.
Dan, go ahead and just type in A. I think it actually is
It should be 7.
changing
Yeah.
A. Yeah, it actually is changing A.
hmm
Yeah.
Interesting stuff there.
Right. So if I do a minus minus, I would expect 7, but then when I do a again, it should be 6. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Fun
That's
with
cool.
JavaScript. Yeah.
Now it's 5. Yeah. I think there's also minus minus is also some kind of trick for doing like a type conversion, but like if I have a string of 5. Oh, do you see that? You can do emojis.
What did you type?
I don't even remember doing this ever, but it was in my memory. Let's see. So if you do like const b, oh, let's just do bar. Or b equals. Nice.
Oh wow.
And of course that's not a number, but so if like I do var c equals like 5, the string of 5. I think I can do, yeah. See, it'll did a type coercion just then.
That's pretty cool.
So I've heard that called like hot wiring. I think.
Interesting.
So you do those like on the fly type coercion.
I think it talks a little bit about that in chapter 2. Some weird kind of quirks.
No, I think it actually covers in chapter 1. I think I read it yesterday. Maybe not. Might be completely wrong here.
As far as
Yeah, here it is. It's
yeah,
in chapter 1.
yeah.
It's called automatic type conversions. Is the name of the paragraph.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the like potentially really confusing things for people that are learning JavaScript for the first time is that how it it seems to not care. Like,
It just wants
Yeah,
to see
JavaScript
everything.
will exactly, and it'll just still display your web page. It just won't work, and you're just like,
Well, yeah, I mean, and it'll, I mean, and yeah, and those type coercions will work until they don't. I mean, you get
exactly.
this false sense of security, that it's always going to do the right, convert to the right thing, and then it doesn't always happen.
yeah.
You got this crazy undefined floating around at the very end, and you have no idea at what point
Yeah.
it got there.
And the thing is, like, it's there because it's supposed to like help you. Or you can be. I mean, I think of some of the things that I that I wrote at the beginning. And this is like when you first encounter the language. I think this can be helpful, but I think it just becomes something that you have to know because it's something about the language that you're often writing around, or having to take it into account for something. I'm not like, sweet, I got a type conversion here. This really saved the day.
What if the user inputs a number and I want to add something to it? This is awesome.
Yeah,
Never
don't worry. JavaScript's like, I got you. It's fine. Ooh.
JavaScript is just a negligent language. You think it's real cool, but really it's
Oh yeah,
just irresponsible.
There's that short circuiting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a handy feature.
I think something that in chapter 1 that's pretty interesting, and I still don't think I have a grasp on yet, is the difference between null and undefined, and
Yeah.
what is and what is not false.
Yeah. So there are truthy values and falsy values,
Yeah, exactly.
and I think the easier way to remember them is falsy values are undefined. Well, I think is undefined falsy.
I
Yes,
believe it is.
I think it is.
Yeah. Undefined, null string, zero. What else?
False.
Not a number.
False.
Yeah.
But the null and undefined, somewhere in there,
Undefined is just undefined.
Yeah, he basically says it's an accident of history that there's a null and an undefined.
Yeah.
They're mostly equivalent.
Yeah. So I think on the language level, null is a value that's not equal to anything, including itself. So like undefined equals undefined, I expect to be true. Yeah, and it is true because undefined actually has a place in memory in the language.
But isn't like null equal null? Isn't that false?
Yeah, because null doesn't equal anything. Oh, what?
Whoa.
Does it equal itself?
Okay, so undefined equals itself.
Huh.
Oh my god.
I know not a number will not equal itself.
Yeah. I
Maybe
did not.
I think that's what I was thinking.
I didn't expect this. That might have been. That might have been something that changed.
No. And of course, we know not null is undefined.
Anyway. Yeah, that's weird. I know, like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was going to ask if you've ever actually come across null. I've never ever found a null value
Yeah, no,
in my limited JavaScript scope.
yeah, that's something that's another kind of stylistic thing, but I think there are certain conditions where it's safer to use null instead of undefined, because you literally don't want to return anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there.
Okay, so if you had a function that did and you return null,
Mhm.
is that
Let's make a function that returns
So,
null.
I mean, would that literally have no return value? I mean,
Uh, hmm. Let's see. So
I guess
if
I don't know
I
the difference between null and undefined.
yeah,
Let's figure that out.
because I mean, if you don't give a function a return value, it returns undefined, right?
right.
You know, but what if you explicitly return null? Then what does it give you?
I don't know. Let's see. So
All right, so it seems like null might return an actual object.
it returns null.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, null, like a completely empty object, whereas undefined is just there's nothing. There's nothing. That's all I have to say there.
Yeah. Is undefined more nothing than null is?
I think so. I think null is more something than undefined.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking.
You answered your own question, Alexa.
I didn't know I had a question. I got mixed up so bad there.
Huh.
All right, so I found an answer on some website. It says undefined is a variable that is completely undefined. There's no object reference, and JavaScript doesn't even know what you're trying to do. Null is more like a value in that it is an actual object that's just been blanked out.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so I wonder if I can do, like, does that equal null? No. Oh, because that's nothing. See, so like I don't think I can just feed it a blank object here like this. Yeah. So it's like the engine doesn't know what to do with this. It's interesting.
It's crazy. Okay, so our name equals null. Set a variable to null, just the word null. Okay, so it's definitely not a blank object. I'm confused. I don't know. It's something different than a blank object, but it is.
I bet it's gonna say.
Object.
I bet it's gonna say a when I do type of a. Yep, object.
There you go.
Yeah, and then
So it's just,
Could try an empty string.
string.
No, just you know, quote followed by a quote, string with no contents, and see if it equals null.
Yeah, so I guess so.
Yeah. So that,
One reason is these are actually different types.
yeah.
So null is a type of object, and empty string is a type of string. So this is like empty string is like an empty string, and null is like an empty object.
Yeah.
There was a really good. Have y'all checked out any Douglas Crockford?
I was actually just on his website a second ago. Yeah.
Yeah, there's the good parts has a really good rundown on truthy and falsy values. Is this gonna go to YouTube? Yeah, if you look on YouTube, like just JavaScript the good parts, there should that talk's really good. It's definitely the only thing about good parts is his approaches. He cuts away so much of the language, and I think now and this was way before ES6 when he was writing all that stuff. I think the language has fixed some of the things that he had gripes with, and even his recommended patterns have changed quite a bit. but he goes into a lot of how the language is evaluating stuff and like why those decisions were made. So if you want to look at that, it's quite good. Trying to find something that just lists like the truthy and falsy values. Does Eloquent JavaScript do that?
He doesn't call it that.
For a second, it does.
Yeah, he goes through all the things that evaluate to false and true.
Okay. So, yeah, one of the things about nan is parasitic in arithmetic. So if you have a nan somewhere, all of your numbers are going to become nan.
Oh yeah.
That's something to kind of keep in mind, and it won't necessarily it won't necessarily throw anything or stop executing just because you get a nan because it's good old JavaScript. But that was something I remember hearing once. Yeah. Does the like not make sense to everybody? You're probably using that.
Yep.
And then, do you like using not for your if statements? Like
if
instead
it makes
of checking...
sense syntactically.
Yes.
Like
yeah.
in English.
Mm-hmm.
Like if maybe you say you have some variable named defined and you want to run something if something's not defined, and then I would actually put if not defined.
Yeah, I usually change the I usually want to have the B to the code in the if clause, you know. Mm-hmm. So if changing the sense of, you know, true and false with a not, it just looks weird to me to have a whole bunch of code stuck in the else.
Yeah. Have you seen that where you know, you can have like not? So if I have like a equals 12, and if not a, it'll be false. But then if not a, it'll be true.
Yeah.
Do you know what that's doing?
Not a number.
Well, it's actually doing. I believe.
Double negative.
I'm not sure if it's doing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's just the logic rules, you know. I mean,
yeah. So it's basically doing a 0 and 1.
Yeah, it's just applying the not operator twice, you know.
Yeah. So when I do not a, it basically internally to JavaScript it sets that equal to 0, and then the not is flipping that 0 to 1, which is just true false basically in binary. As far as I know, it's not doing anything with like it doesn't care that this is a number. It's just like doing that true false value.
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Not a. Yeah, and then you just go on forever.
Yeah.
Yay.
I know one thing that got me when I very first started programming was the modulus or the modulo.
Oh yeah.
So if anyone has problems with that modulus, say something, because it's not worth quitting programming for 2 years like I did.
Well, you know, yeah, he does mention something. I think it's in this chapter of how the remainder operator is different than modulo arithmetic, but it didn't really go into any detail about how I mean, I always thought those were the same thing.
I've never used the remainder. Is that just a part of the math module?
That's what the JavaScript percent operator is a remainder.
Yeah.
The
Oh my
remainder
goodness
operator,
gracious.
and somehow that's different than modulo, but I don't know the distinction.
Yeah, so see,
Yeah,
like
who it is.
16, you would expect 16 divided by 2, and you expect 8, but really what it's doing is giving you the remainder of 16 divided by 2, which is 0. So there's nothing left over. So if I do 17 mod 2, it'll be 1, because it's gonna divide this up into 2's, and then there's gonna be 1 left over.
So how is that different than the remainder math then?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he says, yeah, that last sentence there, he says you'll see this referred to as modulo, but
Oh no, I think he's saying. No, what he's saying is, you should like call it remainder, not modulo, because it's the same math. I think he's not differentiating like the way it does things.
okay, it's not two different operations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I always hear it
Modulo's
called
more fun to
modulo.
say. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I call it modulo, but in my head I'm like remainder.
Yeah, that's how I think of it too.
Yeah. Modulo makes it sound like you're really doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good way
Remainders.
of thinking. Yeah, if you want to do like every other.
Yeah, remainder's that's just two third grade for programmers to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's exactly what it is. That's funny. Yeah, do you have an example of like using modulo, find even, JavaScript?
I was thinking about this yesterday, actually. I was thinking if you want to just say find what day of the week the blank day of the year fell on. So if I want to find the 170th day of what day of the week it is. Does that make sense so far? Then you would use that number modulo 7.
The FizzBuzz, the FizzBuzz algorithm
That's right.
does well with
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, and that's in.
Is that
I
in
think,
chapter 1? Or?
no, it's
It's just real popular.
yeah, it's either FizzBuzz is either the next chapter or the one after.
Yeah.
There's that one, the FizzBuzz, and then there's another one. There's another one in that chapter called chessboard, and you can use modulo arithmetic to print out the chessboard, whether it's an even square or an odd square.
Nice. Good tip.
Yeah, I'm doing all my solutions in CodePen, so I have them.
Did y'all see that you can? It's got this editor. Whoa, not that piece.
You can run your code inside.
Yeah.
None of this is actually. Is none of this code?
Yeah,
they're all code. You can just click on it. It'll open it up.
Yeah. And then run control enter. Cool. Yeah, I tend to just use the Chrome, the DevTools console.
Yeah, I mean, that little sandbox embedded in there, it's okay for the simple stuff, but if you got more than a few lines, then
yeah,
it's better to have an editor. And then, you can edit it somewhere else and then paste it in, I suppose.
Yeah.
I do it in Atom and then paste it up.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm doing.
It would be cool if this book had, had the run feature like Node School does, where it would, you could plug in your own code and it would test it and say, give you an evaluation of whether it's the right code or not.
I know later, in some of the later chapters, you'll make functions early up in the chapter that you'll reuse later, that you'll call on directly.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might actually have that sandbox within the web page. I think that's what he says, and that's really starts to confuse me.
Yeah.
If you go back to the table of contents, he's got like a full-on sandbox with the answers and stuff.
Interesting. What?
Or like all the solutions to the programming problems.
I did not know that. That's the best thing I've learned. And no offense to everything else, guys. This is amazing.
Wait, say that one more time.
If you go to the table of contents and you scroll all the way down, he's got like a little sandbox in there, and then it also has the solutions to the exercises.
Oh, awesome. I didn't know that either. Cool. Hey, look at that. Yeah, so I made a variable up in this box, and I printed it in this other box.
Oh, that's cool.
They're all connected. Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Sweet. Oh, that's awesome. Cool, that's going to come in super handy.
Yeah, that's where I am at right now.
Sweet.
Is that the one about the squirrel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where squirrel?
He comes up with some pretty good examples. That at least it's,
I like the octopus thing he keeps referencing. How it's like reaching, grasping variables.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like. Yeah.
Yeah, it just makes more sense.
Yeah, I like that. And it also kind of implies that it's something that changes or can change.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the idea you can have multiple tentacles embracing the same object.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Oh, we lost Alexa.
Well, she got all the answers now. So
She was like, got it.
Yeah.
Oh, there she is. Hey. All right. Well, we're going. It's about 9:15 now. Any kind of last or winding up kind of thoughts or ideas or questions? I mean, I know I had some questions answered in this time.
I thought something was cool. I did a little test while y'all were talking. If you do the S++ on a string, it's going to increase a number if it's a number in the string, but if you do the S equals S plus 1, then it's going to concatenate it.
Oh, yeah.
You say
So
if there's
like
a number in
string
the string, it'll just increase the number?
Yeah, I think I knew about the plus equals thing, that it did concat the string.
Different, even though it's technically doing the same thing.
Yeah, so that's the same. Yeah, so that's another shorthand, right?
Yes, I wasn't expecting it to work like it did. I was thinking that it would concatenate the 1 instead of adding the 1 in the... Because if you do it normally, S equals S plus 1 in a string, it's going to concatenate the other number.
Right.
But it has to be a number in the string. So if you do S equals, or var S equals 5 in a string, and you do S plus plus, it will turn it into a number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
So
it's a number.
it's doing
Now, though,
yeah,
right?
it's doing
But
it.
now, if you reset S to a string again of 5, you have to do a number again. And then if you do S is equal to S plus 1, it will concatenate it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's an example.
Yeah. So that's type coercion going the other way. It's coercing this number into a string.
Even
Yeah.
though S plus plus and S equal S plus 1 are technically the same thing.
Yeah.
Something different. That just made me think.
That's
It
interesting.
was weird.
Yeah. So it's coercing that one to a string
Yeah.
in the
Okay.
last example. Yeah.
And then, yeah, so S could even be a string here, and then you can do S. Oh, yeah, just the same thing going on. Have y'all seen string literals? in ES6?
No.
Or template strings? Those are cool. So let me see if it's supported in the console. It might not be in this yet, but I would do like bar b equals. So you use these backticks.
Oh yeah.
And do like my string is, and then you do $sign and then brackets. So this means I'm going to use an actual object right here, and it's going to interpolate this value. Hopefully, it worked. Yeah. So instead of having to do like blah 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 plus blah 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 for your like string things, you can just have a template string that's just one line, and you can use quotation marks in there. So I can do like C equals my string. Oops. String is, and I can have like double and single quotes. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that is cool. So you don't have to have like an escape character or anything.
Yeah, you can just do it all in line. And they're calling this string interpolation. So it's like evaluating it internally, like inside of the string. Those are cool. That's a new ES6 thing. There's some more string methods too.
Mm-hmm.
I have to look at those.
Yeah. And this is like MDN docs is just the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is good. That's where I went when I started trying to find out about these like the internal number representations and that sort of stuff, and it's all there.
Yeah. I typically, like, if I have a problem, I usually like type what I'm looking for and then space MDN into Google. Yeah. Any other things? Any other things?
How should we prepare for the next session?
Well, I'm going to try to figure out how Hangouts works and stream it correctly so we can post them.
So yeah, I mean, if we go straight by the chapters. I don't remember what is chapter 2. I don't have it in front of me.
I think it's
program structure.
Yeah, program structure. That's just that's the FizzBuzz and the checkerboard. And the triangle for the exercises.
Yeah, I guess we could just like kind of go over those, and look at our solutions. I mean, it's all, it's pretty straightforward stuff, but.
Oh yeah, here's all the.
There's things we can uncover there, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'll definitely spend a little more time with this one. I honestly didn't spend really any time looking over chapter 1, but because I'd already read it a couple months ago and I just kind of looked it over. But yeah, this one, and I know like the nature of this book is it kind of ramps things up pretty quickly. The first couple chapters are, pretty easy, but the actual the exercises themselves, I think, are going to become. We're going to need to. It'll be nice to work together on them, I think, because they provide quite a bit more challenge, and there's a lot of different ways to answer all of them.
Yeah, I got up to about chapter 6 last year, and it got exponentially harder by that point. I was having to really work at it to understand his examples and.
Have y'all seen this? It's like 4 years of CS and.
Yeah, with the Feynman technique.
What?
Oh no, I thought you were talking about this guy did MIT's computer science program in a year.
Oh wow! Oh, I saw something about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a learning trick called the Feynman technique.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was teaching himself like
Yeah.
high-level calculus. Okay, I'll have to find that link again, but 4 semesters of computer science. It was like, oh, here it is. Yeah,
Whoa, I like that. All right.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. And I'm not, I'm not sure how you use it. I haven't actually done it this way, but
Yeah, can you just post that in the meetup group?
yeah, totally.
That's actually pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because that's the hard part to learn is the algorithms and how to actually think like a computer scientist.
yeah, I agree. Takes a lot of time, I think.
6 hours isn't that long anymore. I like this guy.
Yeah.
Well, I wish I had seen that back in the 90s. I could have saved myself 4 years.
Yeah. So these are kind of like picks. So I guess we can have like picks every week. This will be one of my picks. So if y'all have anything you want to share, feel free to post it in the Google Plus, and I'll forward them along.
There's an interesting. Well, I'm just gonna post this site. It's for code sharing. So when we actually start getting into the difficult exercises, I think it'd be pretty cool if we all were looking at the same code. So I
Yeah.
posted a site
Yeah.
into the group chat
Cool.
and see if you guys can get in there. Give book.
Yeah. Oh, awesome.
All right, there's one thing I haven't figured out how to get any syntactical highlighting or anything like that, so it all still looks the same. But I'm sure there's other tools. I just think that this is a good idea to get going. This.
There's even inside of Google Hangouts, there's a thing called Mad-Eye
Ooh.
that you can run that'll actually it's like a peer programming where I can share my local IDE and it'll.
Well, I mean, I know Adam has something similar too, but I don't know for how many users.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
I think Mad-Eye might just be 2. I didn't know you could have multiple users in that. Is that a package or?
yeah, it's an Adam package. I was looking at it the other day for somebody from Free Code Camp.
Doesn't C9 also offer peer programming?
Let's check it out.
CodePen has one
Oh, cool.
with Pro. Yeah, Adam Pear. That's the package I was looking at.
It'll be a maximum of 20 collaborators
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
wow.
in a free plan. Yeah. Cool. If that code share turns out to be paid, because I noticed it said like 14-day trial. Maybe we can.
Oh no, this is a free. The code share is a free website. But if Adam has syntactical highlighting, I think that'd be easier to read.
Yeah. Just don't post any malicious stuff on my computer.
So what was that called, Adam? If you could
Adam.
post that in the meetup.
Adam Pear.
Adam Pear is the package.
Yeah.
I don't even have Adam. I use Sublime personally, but I'll switch it up.
I really like Adam.
Yeah, I do too.
Adam made me upset. I don't know why. I just didn't like it. It just.
Do y'all use the Adam console?
No.
I haven't. Don't use it though. I really like iTerm.
I downloaded it, but I haven't really gotten into it yet.
Terminal Plus is the console package I use. It's actually really good.
So in Atom, I mean, I really hadn't looked at it much at all. Can you plug like your own tool set in there, like whatever, different compilers or,
Yeah, Adam's got a lot of packages. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, users can make their own packages, and so if you want it, it probably exists basically.
Yeah, but I mean, you can like use it to you can compile and run all inside that environment,
No,
right?
it's not an IDE. I think it's just a text editor.
Okay.
For
But
that,
maybe there's a plugin for it. I'm not quite sure.
I use CodeKit mostly.
Oh, I do have Terminal Plus.
CodeKit just a different program.
Well, no, I mean I use it for web design stuff. And auto refreshes. It just creates a small little web server,
Oh, nice. Okay.
and then it does like all your pre-processing for like SAS and stuff like that.
Nah, I don't have a Mac. There's that.
Pre-pros is also a good one.
Yeah, I used Prepost for a little bit.
What was the name of that one again?
Prepost and CodeKit. CodeKit. I think they're both paid, but I paid like $20-something for it.
If you keep Plus and continue trial, you'll get Popos, but Pre-pros is still free as long as you just keep clicking trial version. Once I make some money off of web development, I'll buy it.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to just I spend most of my time inside of Meteor, so it's doing all that build step and doing the all my SAS and everything, and doing like a development server for me and watching the file system.
Oh, okay. I had to use NodeMon for watch the file system on.
Yeah, yeah. If I'm just doing a Node project, NodeMon's great.
Oh, and CodeKit does your Bower stuff too. But yeah, once I probably do more back-end development stuff.
This is my jam right here. I love Meteor a lot. It's got a really good guide that they've been working on. But yeah, those are all great tools. All those things y'all mentioned. I know CodeKit. My friend Kyle, he loves that and swears by it. And he's my friend, and his name is Kyle.
Okay, alright.
Yeah.
Alright, guys, I'm going to go ahead and head out. It seems like it's 9:30 at this point, so...
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, me too.
All right, man. It was fun, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
Good session.
Alright, I guess we're going to figure this out. Is it going to be every 2 weeks, every 1 week, something like that, or...?
Yeah, I think 2 weeks, and at least this time, and I'll try to get everything set up a little bit better. And because I know like 17 people said they were interested on the meetup, and
yeah, I think other than us, there were only 2 people who actually made it into that little meetup situation, the Google Hangouts before we did, that never actually made it into this portion. So there's at least 2 more people that were interested.
yeah, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to lock people out just because I didn't set something up properly. Yeah, so does that work for you guys? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
flexible.
That sounds good.
Yep.
Okay.
Solid.
Sweet. Yeah, I'll make another meetup and another Google Plus thing.
Solid. All right. Catch y'all later.
All right. See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Good night.